Great.
Good. Well, it's an honor to meet you. First thing, before we get started, what we're doing tonight, everything after tonight is extremely important. Tonight's just a one-night event, so many of you got this little 3x5 flyer. Much of what you see tonight, we will allude to a lot of the different apps. I'm going to explain it to you. We have follow-up emails and videos that are 100% free that we'll send you if you fill out one of those little things. Also, I have some gift certificates, so don't let me leave without pulling out an Amazon gift card and raffling one of those off. Also, Veggie Grill is nice enough to give us 2 gift cards, so I'll raffle a couple of those off if you like Veggie Grill. So my name is Josh Ochs. It's great to be here tonight. You guys are doing a wonderful thing for your kids by being here, and you really are ahead of the game, which is really exciting. Okay, so here's what I'd like to get into tonight. We're going to talk about the Ochs apps. One of the biggest concerns nationwide with parents is, Josh, how do I keep up? How do I make sure that I become an expert? Because I feel like there's a new app out each week, and I want to make sure my kids are safe. We're also going to look at Miley Cyrus versus Hannah Montana and show you an example that is very relevant with your kids. Now, what I'm going to show you tonight, your kids will see, so you'll have something to talk to them about. And as we go through tonight, one of the key takeaways that might not even be in the slides, but I will be sure to talk about this many, many times, is how to have a dialogue with your kids about this. I'll show you a couple techniques there. I think that's the biggest key takeaway for tonight. Next is how colleges will search for your kids. Josh, why are you talking about colleges when my kids are in middle school? I'll talk to you about that and exactly why we've taken this approach. We've tested this in about 15,000 kids. We know what they roll their eyes to, and we know what they get excited about. And we found things to get them excited. Tonight will be a lot about safety with you, but when we talk to your kids, it'll be about the future. Because kids don't want to talk about safety. What do you tell them? What happens when you tell a kid not to touch the stove? They want to touch that thing. So we teach the kids how to cook, how spaghetti goes from start to finish. With you, we're going to show you how hot that stove gets and what bad things can happen. But with your kids, we got to keep them excited. Also, they won't sit still for more than 40 minutes. So, Snapchat safety tips. I'm going to talk to you about some things that can go wrong with your kids on Snapchat really quickly and show you some really powerful examples that you may not have thought about. A formula to shine online for volunteer work. We're going to plan on everything being public going forward. Now, your kids might be 12. There might be a network where you feel it's comfortable for them to be private on. That's great. But everything that they post, even on a private network, should be considered. If something negative happens, it goes public. And then last, how to improve your online resume. We're going to go into depth on that tonight. So, you should be asking, Josh, talk to us about some of the apps. Now, this next slide, I'm going to put it up at the end. I want you to take a picture of it. And all of these pictures, all these logos, at the very end of the slide. So at the beginning, if it's halfway up there, you're not going to waste some battery power. I'm going to go through each one of the apps, and once it's all the way up there, I'll encourage you all to take a picture of it. And all of these images become videos that you get for free in your email inbox. So first of all, the first 4 are very, very important. Facebook, many of us are familiar with. How many of us in this room are on Facebook? The majority of the room, probably 80%. Do you know why your kids aren't on Facebook? Because you're on Facebook. Yeah. And because if your kids are on Facebook and they post something, you would be saying, oh, baby, I love you so much. I'll see you at home tonight for dinner. And what do they want? They want a little bit of free space. They want to be able to close the door in their bedroom and have their own quadrant, right? And they want the same thing on the web. So your kids went from Facebook to something it owns called Instagram. Now, let's talk about Facebook. Facebook, you can put pictures, video, text, images, just about anything you want. It's the godfather of the web. It's very interactive, right? Now, the interesting thing about Facebook is it works web and it also works desktop really well, and the tablet, all 3. Instagram, whereas Facebook does wide pictures and video and tall and skinny and everything in between, Instagram is very simple. It only works mobilely. You can only post through a tablet or your phone. So because you can only post in a mobile fashion, whether you're on Wi-Fi or non-Wi-Fi, 4G, it is really interesting for kids because you're not on it. Statistically, you're not at least. And because you're not on it, because it's square, every one of the images is square, it's really easy for them to thumb through the actual feed. Now, here's what happens, just a little side note. I want to bring you up to speed on Instagram, and then we're going to move on to some of the worst apps. Instagram is square, so you can put just a square image. You can take a horizontal image and crop it, but it also allows you to do 15-second videos. You're thinking, what can I do in 15 seconds? Well, we'll get on to another app that's actually 6 seconds. So in 15 seconds, you can share a new video of stuff. Bless you. And everything on Instagram did eventually go to Facebook. It doesn't go the reverse way. So whereas Facebook is something you feel comfortable on, your kids feel more comfortable on the Instagram, which is just an image or a video. Most of the time, videos don't get as much engagement. Usually they're just images. Now here's a little secret that your kids won't tell you. If you post more than once a day on Instagram, you are a fire hose. What that means is, because there's no algorithm in Instagram, all the people that you follow, all their posts are there. So if somebody posts 4 times in a day, you log in, and you see all their posts, and you have to scroll 3 or 4 times to get by them, that annoys the user. So if you become friends with your kids on Instagram, come on in, grab a cookie on your way in. You guys aren't going to eat the cookies, because if I get to them at the end, they might mostly be gone. So, when you're on Instagram, if you do decide, and by the end of tonight I'm going to show you how to have that dialogue with your kids, consider only posting 1 picture every day, every other day, once a week. Posting too much makes us look uncool parents, right? I'm on your side tonight. Okay, are we good with Instagram a little bit? It's more square, it's mobile. I want to encourage all of you right now, if you're fearful of some of these apps, this is the one to go download. If you want to have a dialogue with your kids, if you want to be a little bit of the cool parent while also being the parent, Instagram is a good place to start. It's a good place to start thinking about your digital online image. Everything is up public. Stuff does get shared from Instagram to the web. Who is listening to Instagram? I have a whole video that shows you 5 ways to use Instagram to impress colleges. So I see it as a very serious network. Okay, Josh, what is Vine? Well, first let's start with Twitter, and then we're going to jump over to Vine. Twitter is a little bit different than the rest of the networks. It started with just text, 140 characters to be exact. So if you are on Twitter, you can only post usually 2 sentences, and then it's done. Now they also added imagery and some videos. So now Twitter is a really cool, short little service, and it's incredible because you can do it from the phone. But guess what? Twitter wanted to get into video, and they didn't want to start their own YouTube, so they bought Vine. Now Vine, you see that right above it? Vine is a 6-second video app. Does not work on a desktop. You can view the videos, but you cannot upload them. So Vine and Instagram are both owned by Facebook and Twitter, and they only work on a mobile device. And you're asking yourself, what can I do in 6 seconds in a video? You can tell an amazing story in 6 seconds. You can put up to 6 different scenes in it. Kids are incredible. And kids on Vine end up being very, very famous. In the Midwest, where I traveled to some big school districts, some kids have 500,000 followers. It gets absolutely unbelievable because other kids follow them and they do silly stuff. Now the thing you should know is because you're not on Vine, there's a lot of comedy on Vine. It's pretty crude, and kids are more. I'm trying to think of the phrase. The Vine system encourages them to be just a little bit more radical and a little bit more out there in order to get more likes, follows, and rebuys. So, okay, next, let's move on. Josh, what is Snapchat? Snapchat is a good app in the long run, but let me talk to you here really quickly about what, we're going to look at what can go wrong. Snapchat only works on the mobile device. You can't even view things on the desktop. I'm going to show you a bad example of how your best friend can get you in really big trouble on Snapchat. So we'll move into it later, but here's what Snapchat promises your kids, and then we'll walk through what your kids think about it. Snapchat says, which used to be based in Venice Beach, right on the boardwalk. They say, hey, here's our logo. We are a ghost. We promise to you, this is exactly what the marketing says to your kids, we promise that if you use our app on your iPhone or your Android, and your friends download this app, that you can hold down the button on the bottom, you can take a video or a picture, and when you send that video or picture to 1, 2, or 3, or 4, or 5 people, we promise that they can only view it once, and then it will disappear. And that is our promise to you. Then they added another feature. Come on in, have a seat, don't be shy. We've got a lot of room up here. It'd actually be nice if we pushed more people over here. My microphone does not go that far over here. I can hear it hissing, so that's why I'm trying to talk to you guys a little bit, but I can't go all the way over. So, once again, Snapchat says it will disappear, we promise. That's why we made our logo a little ghost. It's adorable. And then they said, wait, it's so interesting and you're so into this app that we're going to make a feed, so there's another part of it that you can post to that will disappear after 24 hours, and it'll let all of your friends see it, not just the ones you direct message the video or the image. So Snapchat is a 7 to 15 second image software where you take that app and you send it, and it can show up for 3 to 15 seconds or so. And you can also do a video. It's 3 to 15 seconds long, and there's two things that are interesting about it. You can only view the video once, and second, you have to hold your finger, your thumb, or any kind of finger on the display in order for the video to show, which means you can't just turn it around and show people. You actually have to put your thumb and press for it to play. Now, we're going to talk about things that can go very, very wrong here, and things that can go very, very right on Snapchat in a few minutes. Next, I'm going to show all of these apps over here on the far right, and I'm going to put a red box around them. The red box shows you what area I want you to be very aware of your kid in. I'm going to put everything up there actually, so you can go ahead and take a picture now. Josh, what are the red box apps? Something really interesting happens in social media. Oh, look, we're going to do selfie time. I've never done this. I'm nerdy. Okay. So here's what happens in the red box, and this is something important. If you fill out that piece of paper, if you didn't take it, if your image is blurry, don't worry about it. But let's go over each one of these apps really quickly. Your kids will never get this slide. When we speak to them at their middle school or their high school, they're not going to ever hear us talk about these apps, because I hope that they don't run into any of these apps. And I don't want to bring up Pandora's box in front of them, right? So let's talk about the Whisper app first. Whisper is an app. Actually, what does an anonymous app do, Josh? Why is anonymous bad for my kids? But here's what happens. It turns out statistically, if we do not have a reputation that we have to uphold or defend, we end up acting in ways that we never thought possible. So we could be mean, and rarely ever is it nice manners that we have when we're anonymous. Usually it's never a good Samaritan. Usually it's something very, very negative. So here's what happens. Whisper app lets you load this app on your phone. It doesn't ask for a username. It just lets you tell your most intimate secrets, and it lets other people comment and all kinds of different stuff. Some of these apps are just apps. Some of them are a website. I believe with AskFM and also Whisper, they're websites as well. I'm pretty darn sure. Whisper is whisper.sh. Once again, you probably don't need to go to these apps. You just need to know what the logo looks like. These are not the ones I'm going to recommend that you download. I don't want you to consider downloading these and go testing them out. They're creepy at best. These are the ones I want you to download. Have some fun with Instagram, Facebook, Vine, Twitter. They're great. If you want to learn how to Snapchat, I think it's awesome. It can be very, very good. The red box ones, nothing good ever happened. But Josh, my kid loves to spend time there. They're meeting people. I've never heard a kid say, oh, I spent a ton of time on AskFM, and Harvard saw me, and now I'm going in to get interviewed by Harvard. No one ever said, oh, I met my best friend on Secret, the Secret app. Now, in fact, kids, I'm always talking to them about, hey, if you want to play over there, that's fine. It's not my job to tell you where to play, but you will end up in your bedroom alone. And that's because these don't encourage you to hang out with people. You can meet great people on Instagram, on Twitter. You can actually talk about wonderful debates and listen and look at world news. But over here, you're dealing with people that you don't know that are usually very negative. Okay, after school app, it encourages people to chat with strangers. That's actually the motto verbatim. Chat with strangers. It's creepy. We have a whole 7-minute video that teaches you how to use it. It might be 5 minutes. We try and keep them short. Yik Yak is a huge problem with many schools. It ends up causing a lot of chaos with principals and assistant principals because kids in Manhattan Beach had a bomb threat and it closed the school for a day or two. Happens in the Midwest, happens all over the country. We have a whole video for about 5 minutes on that. You can learn all about it. Ask FM is just not good. That's my professional opinion. If you see your kids having this app, having serious dialogue with them, and we'll have to talk about that offline. It is not good. Tell them to get over here. Ask them, why aren't we on these apps more? Secret app, once again, it's very creepy. It only asks for your phone number, and it will not turn on unless it has access to all of your phone numbers in your contact list. Why does it want that? If you have over 3 numbers in your contact list that are also on the secret app, what it does is it says, all right, everybody, you are all fired up. Tell us your dirtiest secret about your contacts. Kids will then post something about their friends. And you don't know who posted that about you, but you know it's one of the people that's in your cell phone. So it gets very, very creepy. Next, the whisper app we already talked about. Okay, so that's the red box area. I want you to carefully think about that. This is the bad part of the web. I genuinely, as an optimist and as an entrepreneur, I get to travel the country telling people the good side of the web, but I'd rather start with the negative side. Is that fair enough? Yes, you're right. Tumblr is not, Tumblr is more of a blog-based. It is an app as well, but it's more of a website. We could probably do an app video on Tumblr. Please. Okay, okay, I'll do that. I'll take care of that. Now, you should be asking, and I'll get into my background here in a few minutes. All of this is 100% free. My team, and I have a whole staff at home back in Santa Monica, and I have one staff member. Her job is to become an expert on the app. She downloads every Teen in Tween app. She becomes an expert in a few days. She turns to her desk, looks at me, and goes, I created a deck on it, Josh. Let's create a video. Let's create a blog post. Let's educate parents on our unbiased opinion. This is how they market themselves. This is what your kid thinks. This is what your kid does. And these are the problems. And every one of those videos explains it in that order. Okay? These are all free. Your school and your district have done a really great thing and put you ahead by asking me to come out tonight to share with you how these work. Now, we're going to go above and beyond here in a minute, but there's more videos on Kik versus WhatsApp. How many of you know what Kik versus WhatsApp is? Raise your hand. Okay, very few of us. So, we all know that a few years ago when you buy your kid a phone, or if you had a phone, you could text people, you could send a text message. And at the end of the month, you could call Sprint or Verizon and say, I want my bill, and I want to know everybody that I texted, basically. And I want to know what time, I want to know all the phone calls. You had total control over the data and the phone and everything else, right? Well, Kik and WhatsApp and Kik Messenger have done something new. Every phone that you buy your kid and every Wi-Fi device, they have a data plan. And some kids, they don't have a data plan at all. They just have a Wi-Fi hotspot or Wi-Fi at your house. So what Kik and WhatsApp have done is they bypass the text messaging capability and they use the data plan to message people. Now WhatsApp started first. It was a really genius idea. If you have friends or family overseas, you can both download WhatsApp. This is genuinely somewhat of a good app, but it can be used very, very badly. And here's why. For WhatsApp, if you want to text somebody overseas, you just have to have their phone number and you plug it into the app. And then you can send them text, images, videos, and normal stuff. And it's really neat because you need a username, and the username is a phone number. And that phone number is usually tied to a credit card. So it's a real person or a real family behind it, right? You can see where that keeps you from being anonymous on that app. Now, something else came out. A lot of people ended up having kids with only a Wi-Fi device. They had a tablet or they had an iPhone Touch or something different. So Kik came out with a competing app, and it said, we don't need your phone number, you just create a username. And now kids all over the country are downloading Kik, and they're creating their username, and they'll share that very username on Instagram. In their bio, they'll say, connect with me on Kik, K-I-K. So if you see that on your kid's Instagram account, you know how to have that dialogue now, what Kik is. Kik is really just an AIM. It's an old instant messenger that you don't know who's on the other side of that. It could be anybody. Whereas on WhatsApp, the green logo, it requires you to have a phone number and somewhat of a real human being behind that tied to a credit card. Kik doesn't. Now, I'm going to get into this is the next topic, and then we're going to move on from this slide. I feel like a Debbie Downer right now. This is a lot of content, and it's really negative. Hold on one second, and I'll get to you. You should be asking, where are these apps based? And the reason I say where are the apps based is because you should ask, if something goes terribly wrong, who has jurisdiction? Where can officers go to get the IP addresses and the addresses of these? Well, it turns out that WhatsApp is based in the US, this one right here. Kik is actually based in Canada, so we have no jurisdiction there. So any of the data, anything that's breached over there, we can't really go after them. I'm not saying anything would never go wrong, but some of these other apps as well, they're not actually in the US. Okay, so you should be aware of that. Just because this is the US, and just because they promise your data is safe, does not mean it's the case. We're all adults, we understand that. Your kids don't. Okay, next, you had a question, sir, right here. Yes, go ahead.
WeChat falls in that same group, right?
What's that?
WeChat falls in that same group.
WeChat is very similar to that, yeah. I don't think WeChat uses as much, but yeah, it's very similar. So let's actually talk about big buckets real quick, and you bring up a good point, sir. Chat boxes, whether anonymous or not. So if kids are chatting and they're on the data plan, it's very, very similar. Gchat, Google Gmail has a chat thing called Hangouts, and there's some Gchat apps. They would fit in there as well. Whereas these are pictures and image type of apps. And then these are anonymous apps. The thing that I really want you to be aware of is anonymous apps. Nothing good ever comes out of those. I've never heard a kid say, yeah, I spend my time wisely, I learned something. Yeah, they could waste a little bit of their time perhaps on Instagram, following people and liking them. But it's the lesser of two evils for sure. So tonight you're asking yourself, Josh, I'm really afraid of social media. It feels like a really negative thing. My kids are on Snapchat, they're on Instagram. I can't get them away from the phone. Here's my next step for you. These are the ones I want you to consider to download if you haven't already done it. I want you to consider downloading Twitter, Vine, and Instagram. If you already have all of those, then jump over to Snapchat. These are the ones your kids are using in that upper left quadrant. Is that fair? We'll talk a bit more about the conversation you can have in a few minutes. Yes, in the back.
I just heard over the news this morning that there was a 16-year-old kid that killed another kid and took a snapshot, shared it with one of his friends as a cool thing. And his friend actually was able to take a snap picture of the snapshot through his phone, showed it to his mom, and sent the police over. So it's good in a way, but I don't think Snapchat is as disappearing, as they say.
Yeah, we're going to talk about that in a second. You're very right. That leads me to the next thing and then the next slide. You are the experts, not me. Your kids are yours. They're not mine. They're not even your principal here and your school and your district are doing the best they can, and they're doing an amazing job. Most districts are 2 years behind. They'll call my firm and they'll say, hey, we're ready for you in 2016. And your district has done it now. And it's not even about me. I did not design my life to be in this industry, but they're doing a good job now. So is Snapchat good or bad? That's your decision. And your decision is whether you get to allow your kids to have a device and whether they're public or private. We're going to move into that. Okay, we could talk about the safety stuff all night. I'm going to move into the good stuff. The minute you have the 3x5 cards, if you put your name and your email on that, I'll collect it at the end. We're going to raffle off Amazon gift cards. My friends at Veggie Grill gave me a bunch of cards. They say hello to if you've ever been to Veggie Grill in the South Bay. Okay, here we go. Also, we'll give you a copy of our top 12 social media videos. We'll email you all of these for free. There's really no gimmicks. I don't have a house to sell you or a timeshare. I have a full-time day job in addition to this. Now, you should be asking, why is, yes?
Can we get some more cards?
Yeah, I may have ran out. So here's what you can do. Do you have a smartphone on you? You can go to safesmartsocial.com, and in the top it says download our videos. All you have to do is register right there. Oh, we have some more cards. Okay. Cool. All right. Now, I got my start several years ago at Disney in traditional brand marketing. I never intended to be in front of you tonight. Yeah, you guys need some more? If we run out of cards, everybody, you can go to our website, Save Smart Social, and you'll see a big button there that says sign up for our videos or whatever. You just enter your name and your email. It goes straight to my staff, and that will negate the cards if we run out. All right. Do we need a code? What? Nope, it's all 100% free. So I ran for politics in Hermosa Beach 5 years ago. I was the youngest person on the ballot, and I was running directly against the incumbent mayor. There's me on the Strand in Hermosa. And I had zero money, and I did not understand how politics works, but I had a small business, and I was well-liked. And so as I was going through, there's myself on the day of the election voting for myself. I was very nervous. But as I was going through the actual race, I realized that the one thing I did have that was tremendous was my name. My name was very, very clean, and I treated people with respect. Probably more to say about my parents than myself. And as I would go through, my friends and I had a whole group of 20-somethings that were with me, that were my team. And we would get, the only thing we paid for were signs. Really, really good signs. And we put them up everywhere. And there's a whole loophole about putting them on your bicycle, and you can lock them up to anything, and there's no law against that. So we would lock my bike in the biggest intersections, and only 20-somethings would have a bunch of beach cruisers. So I was able to go out and put my name everywhere. But that's when it came to my attention that my name was really good. And online, you need to stand out, because even though I knocked on 3,015 doors more than anyone else, and everyone was twice my age in the campaign, and I thought I probably could win, and I only lost by 400 votes to the incumbent mayor, who's now a good friend of mine. I knew that my online image was very, very important, but even though I was knocking on more doors than anybody else, I needed to follow up with a clean online image, because they barely knew who I was 6 months before the race, and that's the next place that we're going to go. So I ended up strengthening my online image, and when I came out of the race, even though I lost, my image was better than ever, even before I started. So I ended up coming out of that race with a book, and it's called Light, Bright, and Polite: How Businesses and Professionals Can Safely and Effectively Use Social Media. A bunch of old school tactics with some digital tools. Universal Studios got a hold of me, and they said, we'd like to craft your message a little bit differently, and they kind of helped me get started on this next book. I have a few copies here. It's Light, Bright, and Polite: How to Use Social Media to Impress Colleges and Future Employers. And this is what we're going to talk to you tonight about. Why are we going to talk about a ton of safety? It's because we can talk about safety until we're blue in the face, and I almost turned blue with that first slide. You can tell it's exhausting for me. What I'm going to do is show you how to use social media in a great way. You can have that safety talk. We've made all the safety videos for you on your own time to go have a good time with. But tonight what we're going to talk about is what the biggest companies want to see in your kids someday. It is my goal that your kids get hired by the best companies. They get a first-round interview anywhere that they want to go. I got that opportunity at Disney Studios in brand marketing, and I'll never pass that up. So you teach them how to shine in person. I want to give you a few tips so that they shine online. Now, Josh, my kids in middle school, why do you want them to work at a great firm? Because if they're a wonderful candidate someday, they'll end up being a wonderful candidate for USC, UCLA, Pepperdine, any school, Harvard, anywhere else you want them to go. Okay, so I'm going to ask your kids, as we speak to them, as we've asked kids nationwide, raise your hand if you have an iPhone. 95 to 97% of kids raise their hand. Next, who has the Vine app? 40% of the kids have looked at the Vine app in the last week. Who has Instagram? 80% of the kids raise their hand. Who's using Kik or WhatsApp? Kik, the scary one, the one that isn't in the US, seems to be very, very hot in the South Bay area. WhatsApp is very, very low. WhatsApp's really good for an older crowd or people that have overseas friends. Next, who has Snapchat? Another 80% of kids will raise their hands statistically. And Twitter. Probably 50 to 70% of kids will raise their hands on Twitter. And then last, Yik Yak and Whisper. This is where I throw in a little question. Who's using the anonymous apps? Basically, that's what I'm asking them there. And less than 5% will actually raise their hand on that one. Okay, next. What does Light, Bright, and Polite look like? We're going to play a little game with your kids. This is where they get on the edge of their seat. Now, everything that I've shared with you tonight was just for your eyes. It wasn't all that safety information. Your kids will never hear about that from me. I will talk a little bit about anonymous apps and how they're wasting their time, but I start right at the politics intro. I move fast. I keep them on the edge of their seat. And then I give them this. Let's play a little game called Miley Cyrus versus Hannah Montana. And this is where it turns into a pep rally. You see, everything that you do on the web, kids, if you will, is a fun tweet or a more wholesome tweet. And I don't need to explain to you parents that Hannah Montana is the on-screen personality of Miley Cyrus, who's the real life, less than wholesome person. But guess what? USC, UCLA, and Harvard are watching everything we do online. You think it's private, that's fine. You're in middle school, right? But they're watching, and I'm going to show you how very much they're watching. Because I'm about to show you how Miley Cyrus will upset her teacher, how she'll upset her coach, how she'll be dramatic, how she can upset the cheer team. And if you're dying to know how to get fired with just one tweet, I'll show you exactly the tweet that you need to send. So first, how would Miley Cyrus upset her teacher? She would say, this class is so lame, I'd rather be home sleeping. Probably somewhat valid, and we all feel that way. And I'm not here to tell you social media is bad. What I am here to tell you is that there's probably a little bit of a brighter way to say that. I'm ready for the weekend. One's positive, they both feel good, and I don't want to tell kids that social media is bad because then they'll hate me and they'll stop listening. But one, Harvard's going to like, USC, UCLA is going to like. Now you don't need to go to the schools, but you just need to know they're watching. How would Miley Cyrus upset her coach? She'd say, the other football team sucks. I hope they lose. Now, good sportsmanlike conduct happens on Twitter just as much as it happens in the stands and in the field. How can we improve that? We're up by 24 points. Go team. How would Miley be dramatic? Hey, Steve, I'm glad we broke up. You're an idiot. You made me cry. Now, your kids are thinking this. They're giggling the same way you are because this is what people do on Twitter, unfortunately. How can we improve that? And once again, Twitter is not bad. Your kids are on it. We need to tell them how do we use it for good. I'm so lucky that I have great friends to support me. And I'm going to show you how to get to that right side. No pun intended, the right side of the frame. I'll give you some real examples at the end. Okay, how would I upset the cheer team? Well, Miley Cyrus will show us how. Our cheer team needs help. Sally keeps falling. Sad face. How can we improve that? I think next year I'm going to try it for the cheer team, right? One is a sad face, part of the problem, and one is a happy face, part of the solution. Now, how might I get fired, Josh? Well, I'm so glad you asked. Let me talk to you about Cisco. A very large company. We as adults know what Cisco is. Cisco, it turns out, gives us the opportunity to do something very rare. You see, many of the kids, no matter what school your kids are in here at the Palos Verdes Peninsula Unified School District, that's a long one. Many of your kids have a best friend in their class or their grade, and that's because they're in close proximity every day with them. They bump into them. When you spend a lot of time with people, you become best friends. But guess what? What if you worked at a firm that had 72,000 opportunities for best friends because you're in your closest proximity? And not only that, you can travel anywhere in the world, 65 plus countries as you're working, and 12 billion in revenue means the sky's the limit on salary. Well, not only that, it's kind of a fun company because over 300 million of their chips are in actual TVs and digital things. So, kind of a cool company to work for. But guess what? It's very easy to get fired from, and I'll show you exactly how. It turns out there was a young woman that just finished college, and she had applied for this firm. And she had a great resume. She looked really good on paper. And they called her one afternoon and they said, we really like you, we'd like to hire you. Would you consider coming in on Monday? She said, yes, I'd love to come in on Monday. Today's Friday, so you want me to come in a few days? Yes. So she then sent this tweet. She went straight to Twitter. Guess what she said? Can you give us anything that's positive or negative? It was going to be negative. Great. What gave it away? Fired. She said, Cisco. Cisco just offered me a job. Now I have to weigh the fat paycheck against the daily commute and hating the work. Now you tell me, do you think Cisco only listens to their name when you tag them with the little @ sign? No. Do you think they listen to their name also misspelled? Yeah, do you know why? And I can tell you this because my staff, my day job, is advising brands and helping them listen on the web. We have government contracts and all kinds of different contracts in a lot of different industries. And I know for a fact that consumer brands like Cisco, who are also B2B, they listen for the correct and incorrect spelling because they want to know if you're unhappy with their product so they can get you to an 800 number so you won't tell your 12 friends. Statistically, you'll tell 12 to 20 people if you're angry about something. So companies are listening, not just the social media division. And it turns out, what I'm about to show you, an actual senior level VP of some sort, who loves this company, it gave him opportunities to do whatever he wants and take care of his family, so you can understand why he wants only great people to work at his firm. He saw this tweet, and here's what he said. On Twitter, he said, who's the hiring manager? I'm sure they would love to know that you will hate the work. We here at Cisco are well-versed in the web.
Yeah.
Now, she got a call from the HR department very shortly after, and they said, I'm so sorry, but we no longer would like you to come in for this this job. So before she ever got the chance to see what her cubicle looked like, she was asked not to come in. Now your kids are probably thinking, Josh, this is no big deal. Why are you talking about this? She probably had a great resume, she had a 4.0, she went to a good school. She'll just go to the next school. Well, there's a reason why I belong to Cisco and Fat Paycheck. And that's because if you Google her name or those 3 words, her reputation is all over Google. In fact, how to get fired, she sets a good example on CNN, ABC, NBC. They all wrote about her. You see, this one little tweet gave her an uphill battle for the next 4 or 5 years. And unless she can spin it very, very carefully, it's going to be really hard. Now, there's a lot of other examples I'd love to use, but they're a little more crass, and they're not as clean as this one. But every day, in fact, one of them came out today that I didn't have time to put in the deck. A young woman got an offer at a local pizza place. I don't even know what town it was in. And she tweeted, without tweeting the pizza place's name. This is in the UK, some huge, I think they were talking about the US, but it was in a UK newspaper. Without tweeting the name of the employer, she said, I'm starting this terrible job tomorrow. There were a few foul words in there. Well, a friend of hers told the employer, the pizza shop owner, hey, she's talking about you because she comes in for her first day tomorrow. Pizza shop owner hadn't logged in on Twitter for 6 years. He logged in, he saw it, and replied to her, he said, don't come in tomorrow, you're fired. And it made the news. And everybody's on the employer's side because he doesn't want some little punk in there that has an attitude, right? So, and it's not that I'm against kids, I love them to death, but if we don't show them these examples first, safety is important, but these examples are just as important. What they do is being seen by everyone. Okay, next. And that's when I want to leave your kids with these words. 3 words to be safe. We all know that once you hit send, it's too late to get back, for the most part. And that's why I want you to ask yourself, before you ever press send, is this first, is it light? Is this something that's positive? Is it fun? If it is, check. Is this bright? Be smart. Think first. Is Cisco going to fire me if I tweet this? If they're not going to fire me, then check. It's bright. And last, is this polite? Is this something I'm proud of my parents seeing the next day? And my principal? If it is, then it's light, bright, and polite. Okay. What is safe, Josh? Well, we all know that text messages can be screen grabbed, forwarded, saved. We're all familiar with that. Let me show you a little example of a Snapchat. I use this image because it gets your kids' attention. This is Kim Kardashian. You took a screenshot of my Snapchat. I trusted you. And this is what happens every day in high schools and middle schools across the country. They think that they send that, they send an image or a video, and they trust the person on the other side not to take a screen grab or a screenshot. We all know how to do this. If you have an iPhone, you hit the button either on the top or on the side while also pressing the home button at the same time. It takes an image of your whole screen. We're all familiar with that, right? Okay. So that happens in Snapchat every day. Now, here, let me tell you a little personal story. It was my birthday one week, and my friend Blake sent me a Snapchat saying, happy birthday, let's ditch work, call in to our employers. Now, he has an employer. I probably work too much because I don't have an employer other than your school. And he said, why don't you ditch work and go surfing tomorrow for your birthday? And I'll ditch and happy birthday, by the way. But he's saying happy birthday so nicely that I downloaded the video and I sent it to him in a text message. And I said, this is my favorite. Now let me repeat that. I took his video on Snapchat, and instead of only playing it once, I was able to use another app and download it to my iPhone and send it to him so he could play it 1,000 times. So I used another app to do that. And he called me and went, dude, what did you do? And I said, well, you sent me a video, it was really motivational, and I downloaded it, I sent it to you, and I said, this is my favorite, happy birthday, thank you, that's really nice of you, you're a good friend. I said, would you like me to post it on Facebook? He goes, no, wait, stop. How did you do that? Because Snapchat's logo, it said, they promised us it's supposed to disappear. I said, well, you sent me data, I downloaded it, it doesn't. He goes, the creepy thing is, when I look at my sent box, I can see everyone that watched the videos. Yours, it shows that you never watched it, let alone that you downloaded it and sent it back to me. I said, well, do you want me to post it on Facebook? What do you want me to do? He goes, no, if my employer sees it, I'll get fired. Because because I'm ditching work. I'm lying to them about being sick, right? So heads. That's a kind of a cheap example of what can very go wrong. And the point of the story is your best friends can get you in way more trouble on Snapchat than just about anybody else. Because you trust them and you want to send them information, and when they share that, they're more likely to get you in trouble than anything else. So, next. What about party pictures? Josh, I go to a lot of events, you don't understand, I take pictures, I post them all. I'm going to show your kids a little technique. Now, I'm sure your kids aren't interested in being popular. But I needed to be in politics. I needed every vote that I could get. So what I did is I took this little tiny technique. When we would take a group photo, I would volunteer my phone to control my image. What does that mean, Josh? That means when somebody at an event says, hey, let's take a picture, we as adults are inclined to say, let me put the cocktail down, hold on, let's put that to the side. And then I would always loan my camera to somebody and say, hold on, you have to take it, use my camera. They tag their friends, they're probably going to get more likes and shares and comments. It accidentally makes you more popular, but it also helps you control your image at the end of the day. Okay? We're going to talk to you exactly about the message that you send below that. And that's because every post is like a button on an elevator. It either takes you up or it takes you down. Let me grab my water. Now we're going to move into some technical stuff. How many of us have Googled ourselves in the last month? Our name, raise your hand. Now let me show you something fascinating. How many of us have Googled our kid's name? More than those of us that have Googled ourselves. I'm going to show you, and teach your kids as well, how to manage their online Google reputation. And I'm going to do this because I want them to start thinking like adults. In my eyes, every one of them is a young adult ready to start getting their best internship tomorrow. So what I'm going to teach them is that their online resume is something they can go learn about today quickly. So what I'm going to do is show them the different modes. Now I know that your kids are not in party mode. If you Google them and the images that come up are not red cups, I understand that. But as they go through high school, they might associate with people in real life and have such a digital footprint that is tied in with people that are associated with red cups, that when USC, UCLA, or Harvard Google them, there's red cups in the image. Now, let's pause for just a second. Somebody came up to me in Orange County last week when I gave this very simple talk. And a woman said, I want to talk to you afterward. And I thought I was in trouble. She said, listen, one of my very close family friends was asked to not come to a second round interview at Harvard because she had red cups in the picture. And Harvard told her, literally verbatim, they said, we want to give you some feedback as to why we didn't accept you because we like you. You have a wonderful GPA, but you posted a lot on social media. You were a little bit disrespectful to your parents in the interview, but what we found on social media was more important. And they gave her feedback about red cups and all this other stuff. Today is not my opinion. I'm not here to tell you anything about what I believe. I'm here to show you what real people, real deans of schools have put in my book. I've got a lot of contributors, a lot of big brands that are behind me. They love this message and they like my take on it. So you don't have to believe everything I'm telling you, but I think that if you can be very careful about who your kids associate with the red cups, you'll be much better off. I'll show you exactly what that looks like. Now, the next mode that your kids could fit in is silly and off topic, and that means they're taking a lot of selfies. When we Google them and the images that come up are full of selfies, that says something to a school. I don't need to explain that to you because we all know that as adults. Next, admissions officers, when they Google it and all these other random people come up, other people, they're going to be confused. I'll show you how to get over that. And last, positive and on topic. This is called light, bright, and polite. What does on topic mean? You're probably wondering. What is it? It means relevant. So here's another thing that Harvard said, and this is random, but it's happened last week. Pardon me for 1 second. He said, you are a volleyball professional, you say that in you went CIF in volleyball on your resume, but when we Googled you, we didn't see any volleyball pictures. We didn't see any passion for your sport anywhere on social media. It was all red cups and selfies. And everybody else had the 4.0s also. And I'm sorry, we used past history to gauge future performance. And they unfortunately said no to this young woman, which can change change the whole families for a few months. They were very devastated because they had a plan, she had the right fit, planned this for years. So, what I'm about to show you is how to manage your Google reputation. What I'm going to do is put all these tactics in your hands. You should be asking, Josh, how good are you at this? My day job, I never intended to be doing this or standing in front of you as I explained earlier. My day job is to advise big brands, some of those ones I showed you, in fact, every one of them that came up with a grid, how to do SEO. What I'm going to show you is called search engine optimization. It helps Google to easily find your content, and your kids are content. I'm going to grab this other mic. I think we might have a little better. Oh, better right here. I sit aside. Thanks. Could you? Oh, yeah. Okay, let's try that. Yeah, okay, is that okay? Great. Okay, maybe this one works a little better. So what we're going to do right now is very nerdy. I won't get nerdy with you, but we advise brands on how to do SEO. If Google's job in the world, and they've said this a million times, it's on my website, pardon me, hiccups, is to take the world's information and make it easy for people to find it, then they not only do that so well that they want to, I'll just go straight in. There's two buttons right here. And what we're about to do is we're going to Google me. We're going to use me as a good example and as a bad example. And what I'm going to show you is that if you were to type in Josh Ochs right here, you see how most of us, 99% of us, click on Google search. What's the button just to the right of that? Google is so good and it's so confident about it being the best at finding the right person, the right pizza shop, whatever you're looking for there, that it says, I'm feeling lucky. How many of us have ever clicked on that? only 3 or 4 or 5 in the whole room. That means they know that the first result is going to be the one that they think is that person, that pizza shop, that school that you're trying to find, whatever it is. Let's go ahead and click on Josh Ochs and let's search for Josh. So what I'm about to show you is exactly how not to Google yourself. Now how do I know this? Here's a little personal story. As I ran in Hermosa Beach for city council, I got a call from one of my friends and they said, Josh, 2 people are writing negative stuff about our campaign. And when he said our campaign, I thought, oh, they're talking about me. Turns out I was young and some people thought I was 24 and I was really 30 at the time. And I looked a little bit younger at the time and they started writing negative things. You must be way too young. So the long story short, as I went back to trying to Google myself, I went on page 1, as you see here, and I couldn't find anything negative. And I thought, well, my friend must be mistaken. I went on page 2 and page 3, and I searched for myself and said, where are these negative blog posts, these bloggers? It turns out that when I called my friend back, he said, Josh, they're there. They're on the first page for me. Could be because I'm holding this right next to it. So here's what happened. I was searching for myself in a logged-in mode. Let me show you what that looks like. I'm going to show you how to search out in a logged-out mode, the way colleges and employers are doing it. So if you look right here, do you see how I'm searching for myself and I have my little image up here in Chrome? That's because I'm logged into either YouTube or Gmail. Now, how many of us have a Gmail address? Okay, most of the room raise their hand. Now, here's what happens. When you're logged into Gmail, because Gmail is owned by Google, Google then says, hey, share with us the data that this person we now know is searching. So because Google's job in the world is to take the world's data and to make it easier for us to find stuff, it's saying, hey, you search this topic a lot. In fact, in your contact book, that person exists. And that's why it's showing you all of my data. It's very personalized. Also, you've clicked on these links before. Let's give you them above the fold, these really good ones. But guess what colleges see? They see a very different aspect of Josh Ochs. They don't see this result, and they show images. Now, what do you think a college is going to click on first? The images, right? It's worth 1,000 words each one. It's easy to scan through. So let me show you how to get to what a college does. There's a little bit of a menu item in the upper right or upper left of every browser. Internet Explorer, Chrome, Safari, Firefox. It doesn't matter the browser you use, but next time you go to the web, I want you to look at this carefully. And this is my challenge for you tonight. I want you to consider Googling your kids and your name to see what the web has on you. So if you click in Chrome up here in the upper right, there's 3 buttons. There's a new tab, new window, and a new incognito window. Now, a new tab opens up a new experience. Within the same window, you can go to Facebook. You can have another one that has Twitter. And we're all kind of familiar. You're not giving up your other experience. You can just go between them. Now, a new window opens up a whole new window so you can fly between different experiences and have different tabs between the windows. But what does new incognito window do? How many of us have used that? About 10 of us in the room. Now, here's what it does. Imagine that you could log out of Facebook, and you could log out of Twitter, and log out of everything, Gmail, and you could then go search for yourself. Then you get a better Google search result, right? It'd be more organic because Google would know who you were. Well, New Incognito does that for you as well. I clicked on it, and you see how now there's all these tabs up here? And all these tabs are basically saying, hey, we're still back there, but this is a new window, and we're showing you creepy little spy guy. And that creepy little spy guy is saying to you, hey, what you do here is logged out. You're logged out of everything. We kept you logged in the other window in the back. But now you can run around the web and see the web as colleges and future employers will see it, just for this one experience. So let's go to Google. Notice how it says, oh, here's how Firefox does it. Firefox has a new private window. So all you need to remember is no matter what browser you're in, go to incognito or private window. Does that make sense? Those are the two terms they use. It works everywhere on every web machine you're on. It does not, and repeat this to your kids, and I will tell every one of your kids, it does not mean you can break the law or you can cyberbully. You will still get caught. Your IP address is still being tracked. Everybody can still see what you're doing. You cannot use this at a school and get away with anything bad. The FBI still knows what you're doing. Okay? Next, it just means that now you can go to Google and other systems and you're logged out. See the sign in button? Well, we're not going to sign in for now. Instead, we're going to search for Josh. Okay, there's the images that we were looking for, right? Now, what happens when we click on those images? Well, this isn't my result. That's not me dressed as a red cup holding a red cup. But if I was hanging out with people that were in these images, our digital footprint would be tied together so much that if these came up, it would be pretty bad for me, right? And I have to have a stellar on image, not only because I ran for politics, but because I get hired. I have a new client every month who we get hired, and we're discovered nationwide. And if you better believe that your administrators here Googled the heck out of me to make sure that I didn't have any dirty laundry out there. I will show you a mistake with my Google results here in just a second, use myself as a bad example. Here's silly and irrelevant. Remember that second one? If your kids are taking a lot of selfies? What does it say to a college? It says that, where's your passion? Where is your volleyball? Where's your volunteer work? Right? I'm going to show you how to do that. Next. Who are these people? Well, these are a bunch of actors' headshots. I literally Googled actor headshot, and I got all these other random people. This happens to be the problem that is most prevalent in this room more than anything else. You Google your name, and some other celebrity comes up, somebody known for something bad. I'll show you how to get around that. I have a technique. And then last, here's me, positive and relevant. Here's me volunteering in Hermosa Beach. I host networking events, explaining my marketing tactics, but who's this Josh Ochs? That's not me. And who's that Josh Ochs? That's not me. Why is there a baby dressed as Harry Potter? Now let me tell you a cute little story. I, being an awesome uncle of two new little nuggets in my life, I'm really into kids, but one year, a couple years ago, Pinterest was all the rage, and I, being a social media person, I have to dive in for a week into everything to get to know it. So diving into Pinterest and pinning things to folders, which they call boards. Now, these folders are boards. You can name them whatever you want, and I had one that was all about cars, and one that was all about hilarious things worth sharing. And because it was around Halloween time, I ended up seeing something on there that was kids dressed as hilarious stuff. And one was Star Wars, and I pinned this one. Now, here's what happened. It changed. Even though that wasn't my picture, I didn't download it and re-upload it under my name. I just pinned it to a folder to save it on that social network. It changed my Google results. Just like it could change your kids' Google results if they think it's really funny to repin something that's an infographic that says how to make a beer bong in 3 steps or less. Or if they think it's funny to repin that picture of people dressed as red cups, holding red cups. It may be hilarious, but a college would see that and say, probably not appropriate for us. Now, I use this as a bad example. Since then, I've unpinned it, it's gone. And that's a pretty harmless one, but it's a little creepy when a social media safety speaker has a kid coming up, a toddler, when it's not his niece or nephew, right? So hence, I was very worried about that. I've unpinned it, and now everything is pretty much owned by me except for these other people. You can see how quickly your Google results, even when they're close to perfect, can still go wrong, right? Next. This is where I want your kids to work on their friends. Look at your best friend's Instagram or Twitter and find the one photo that they should weed out of their online network. We call this social media gardening. And this is where your kids realize they cannot do this alone. They need to step up and start owning their online image. They need to look at their friends that they're so tied with in real life and tag in everything digitally that they need to say, hey, listen, I'm going to apply in 2 years. I want this perfect reputation because I want to get a full ride because it's expensive to go to the school I want to go to. And I want to apply to 7 places, but I know the one I want to get into. So friend, I want you to remove this one image. And their friend is going to be like, well, what image is that? Well, this is where I want your kid to say, listen, remember when your grandma had that party, but she only drinks water and she doesn't like alcohol, but some bozo decided instead of buying white or clear cups, they ended up buying red cups. And you were holding someone's cup and you were nice enough while they went to the bathroom, but you look like you're double fisting at a grandma's water party. Now, your kid's friend will say, oh, that was a great event. My uncle flew in from New York. It was so fun. That's not what colleges see. Colleges don't know how great the event was and that there's water in there. So your friends need to be on the lookout and be their own image managers. They need to say, hey, I'm so tied in with you, you need to get rid of that image. If Justin Bieber was my best friend, I would tell Justin, we're so tied in together after your events, you really, even though you're drinking water, you need to not take tired pictures. You look like you're drunk, right? Let's help each other clean up. Just a little bit. You're so tied in with everybody. Next. Do you feel comfortable? Does your kid feel comfortable printing out their Instagram profile or their Twitter profile? Even if it's private, do they feel comfortable saying, hey, here's me volunteering. Here's me with my nephew or babysitting. Here's what I do on the weekends. You've seen my printed on-paper resume. You've seen my application. Let me show you who I am on the weekends. I'm wholesome. I work hard. I volunteer. If you feel comfortable doing that, your kid's in a good place. If you don't, we need to start talking, downloading apps together. We need to start working with your kid. Now, if you don't feel comfortable doing that, here's an idea. You can sit down with your kid, and there's two things I want to leave you with, and we have a little ways to go. One, when you download an app, how many of us are going to download Instagram? Maybe we already have it. Raise your hand, don't be shy. Okay, how about Twitter? No? Okay. So let's start with Instagram. If you consider downloading with Instagram, here's a dialogue that you can have with your kids. Or could consider. Once again, prove me wrong, you can try it if you wish. You can say, hey kids, I want to use this new Instagram account, this new app, and I'm going to use it. I have a great photo of me at a work event, and I want to post because I know I want to post a photo because I know my work's going to see it, and I want to thank them for the great barbecue that they hosted for the company. And your kid's going to be like, wait, Mom, you're so cool all of a sudden because you want to be on Instagram. 2, why do you want to post something your work can see? So that'll confuse them. So 1, this is your job to say, can you teach me how to use Instagram? Son or daughter, you are an expert. And this is a chance for them to go, well, all right, let's try and work it out and get them to open up first. So as they're teaching you, you can go, yeah, I've got that image of us at the barbecue, or whatever the image is. It could be a family photo. Whatever you feel comfortable with, have that dialogue where your kid is teaching you. That's step 1. Turn the kid into the expert. Why? Because we as adults are always telling kids what to do. We always have more wisdom than them. But in this role, we get to let them drive without anybody getting hurt, right? They don't need training wheels here. Let them teach us. Now, there's 2 reasons why you want to turn them into a teacher early on. 1, it's a great dialogue. And 2, later on, when wisdom should be driving, you can tell your kids, hey, you were the teacher earlier, now I get to be the expert now because I have more ideas or an understanding of what's about to happen. So put them in the driver's seat now and let them help you post a picture of that. Next step, they're going to ask, well, you want to keep this public? You want your employer to see this? Yeah. Because I want them to discover I'm thankful for this. And I'll show you the exact formula for the message you can put below the image. Now, once again, do you need to do this? No. We've tried this on every company, every employer. It's been blessed by Nestle, it's been blessed by USC, UCLA. Anybody you talk to, you'll see my little formula, which is very wholesome. It's a little nerdy, but every time people seem to like it. So you're welcome to try this. You can steal it, adapt it to your own uses. So 1, download the app. 2, go to your kids and have them teach you the app. 3, have a picture in mind that you want to post on the app. 4, tell your kids you want to get discovered because you know somebody will. And they'll be like, what? And then you can start to have that dialogue that everything's discoverable, even if it's private. There are little share buttons at the bottom of Instagram, and you can share a link, and other people can get access to it. We'll talk about that later. Okay, and that's because your kids are the most exciting TV show in the whole world. The Kardashians are only so exciting. Your kids are posting every day, and that's why Google is turned into the world's best DVR, only you don't need to remember to record your kids. It every day records everything your kids do online, and it's going to replay the post on demand. Your kids really are exciting, and it knows it is buying tons of servers to record everything they do so it can find the world's information and make it for everybody else. Josh, how do I get discovered? I'm going to give you some nerdy tactical tips. We're going to breeze through this a little bit quickly. If your kid wants to move to the next step and wants to get discovered by a good school, how many of us are going to apply in the next few months? Raise your hand. For colleges, or the next couple years. Raise your hand. How many of us have freshmen in high school? Okay, how about sophomores? Okay, how about juniors? And how about seniors? Okay, how about 10 seniors? How many of us in middle school? Kids in middle school? All right, great. So here is a technique. This works across the board. If you're going to set up an Instagram account and you want to get discovered, which I genuinely hope once your kid is okay with being public and your family is comfortable with that, that's where I kick in. That's where these techniques work. So, what does Google do to discover things? It takes search queries, which is Josh Ochs, and it goes around the web and tries to find those letters really close to it, right? It says, well, you're searching for 8 letters with a space in the middle. It's going to find everything. What if you made your username those exact same 8 letters? Well, let me show you how to do that. Set up all of your accounts with the same name and username as in your resume or future college application. Now, this means we've got to go around and grab some account usernames, because when your kid does want to get discovered, it's too late to start waiting for that. So, my name is Joshua Ochs, technically, but everybody calls me Josh. So I go by Josh. What do you think they're going to Google? Josh. So I'm going to go on Twitter, Instagram, and LinkedIn, and I'm going to set up accounts with all the same image with the same username. And that's because people Google Josh Ochs with a space, and Google says, well, let me run around the web, and let me try and find a really close alternative to that without the space. And it ends up giving them Twitter, Instagram, and LinkedIn. Does that make sense? You're making it super easy for Google to make it super easy for colleges and future employers to find your kid. Hence, how do I get discovered? Okay, that's step 1. Step 2 is there's a human part of it. The human part of it is your kid wants to be on Tumblr, YouTube, Instagram, and Twitter. The human part of it is when a college admissions officer, and this works as well for an employer, when they look at all these images that come up searching for your kid's name, you need to make it so easy for them that they start becoming your ally. What do you mean by that, Josh? Well, use the same profile photo for all of your accounts. If I use the same photo or different photos every time, different selfies, as you Google me, you would see a ton of different images. Do you think an admissions officer has time to know what Josh looks like from the side versus in a dark restaurant? No. They're exhausted. USC alone and UCLA has even more people applying to it every year. Maybe those aren't on your roster, but there is a school on your roster that you might want a full ride from, and they're going to Google you. Why don't you use just one image, or have your kids use the same image across the board? Oh, how are we going to do that? Well, your school takes photos of your kid every year. They're a little professional, and they look great in the yearbook, but there's got to be a casual, fun photo. Now, here's what happens. If there's an inappropriate other person that's hogging your kid's Google results, but your kid is in there, guess what a college is going to do? They're going to say, that's not Josh on that Twitter account over there, because Josh seems to use the same image. No, yeah, that's the one. I'm not going to click on that one. I know that's him. And that's because a college wants you to help them, and as soon as you start helping them, they become your ally. They start rooting for you as they run around looking for this little, mostly for me, but we'll pretend like the cause is for you. Anything that's helpful so far? Because we're going to get our crescendo here in a moment. What's helpful? Please give me feedback. In the back, yes.
I was just going to say, I have a lot of questions. All 3 middle schools are going to you and just so I'm
Was that a question to me or?
No, sure.
Oh, statement, yeah. So all 3 middle schools and all 2 high schools.
Oh, when?
In the next 6 weeks, we have it all planned out. Your Trent over here, who has done a tremendous job coordinating with every one of the principals to make sure that they make an hour out of their time. So Trent's kind of the man behind the scenes. He's done a really great job. What other questions do you have before I move into yes next? Go ahead.
We've always been told as parents, keep it private, keep it private, keep it private. Now you're saying, make it public. So,
I'm not saying that. I'm saying that colleges and employers are public, and here's why. But that's a great question. Here's the question. The question is, Josh, you've been telling us, or people have been telling us, keep it private, keep it private, keep it private. If your kid is 12 or less, absolutely. And once again, that comes back to your decision. Private versus public, not me. What I'm telling you is when it's time to be public, don't let someone else hog your Google results that's smoking weed or that has red cups or that chooses to do write 4-letter words that are inappropriate. I want your kid to shine online. To do that, eventually, once your kid is 13, 14, 15, 16, it's time to start having a dialogue with the family about when are we going to go public and really start putting volleyball or piano playing on there. Now, let me pause for just a sec. What I'm about to show you are images of real students doing great things and professionals, people that are really setting a good example for other employers. But here's something that your kids can do. You're probably asking yourself, how many of your kids are on YouTube? Raise your hand. Raise your hand if your kids have posted videos on YouTube. Okay, any cool stuff your kids are doing? Can you shout out just like a topic? Are they teaching other kids something? Or
Toy blogger.
what is it?
Toy blogger.
Toy blogger?
Shopkins, she tells them how to do it and how to open the bags and how you can trade them.
Oh, cool.
And how you can make your own.
I like that. Toy blogger, interesting. Anything else? Yes?
How to use the dipping dots maker.
How to use a dipping dots maker. Okay, that's cool. Anything else? Any other teaching videos? Yes?
Actually, comedy blogs like monologues and stuff like that.
Comedy? Okay, cool. Anything else on YouTube? Yes, in front. Singing and dancing.
How many years they going to track you? Let's say, mine is only 7 years old.
How many years are they going to track you? That's a great
college
question.
people, they're
Yeah.
going to track you down for how many years?
It's not how many years. So that's a very good question. Let's
Let's
answer. No, let's answer that right now. Okay, so how many years are they going to track me back? It's a very good question. Once again, my job tonight is to help you connect with the employers and the colleges. Even though, they've given me that feedback. Here's what they want to see. The first 2 pages of Google results, they want your kid to shine online when they Google their name. It's not how many years back they need to go. Do they see on that first page, and maybe even the second page, do they see volleyball? Do they see teaching other kids their topic, whatever they put on their application, their resume? Do you find that? Is it positive and on topic? Remember how that was number 4, like, write, and play? So the question you should be asking, and that's a great question, how far back do they go? It's how deep do they go on Google? They want to find you either on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. They want to see your social. They don't want to see quantity. They want to see quality. And they want to discover similar stuff that you have in your application. Does that make sense? It's the same thing goes for an employer. How many of us in HR here? Anybody in human resources at a firm? Okay. I have a contribution from the head of HR, an HR person at Nestle. And I'll show you exactly what she suggests. It's 100% in line with this. All right, any other concerns? Yes, sir.
For those of us with daughters, is there any problem with cyber stalking if you put pictures of your daughter up on the...
That's a very good question. Are there any problems with cyber stalking if we put up pictures of our daughter? How old is your daughter?
16.
16, yeah. I don't have an answer for that. The answer is yes. The answer is absolutely yes. It's always a problem. So But, yeah, there's a few, I'm always told. So you as a parent are the expert, number one. Number two, if your daughter can do things that, are there any instances that, is your daughter public or
Soccer
private?
player. She's got TV right on her shirt.
Yeah, so where she's at every day is an issue, right? Yeah, yeah. Anybody else have that issue? You have a daughter and you want to be careful, people know where she goes to school, right? Huge issue. So, number one, don't ever let your daughter geolocate your house. Don't ever tweet when you're away from the vacation. I do have solutions to these, but I don't have the exact head on them. That's your job as a father, to protect. I know how to get them off of these anonymous apps to get the really weird people away. That, how public you are on the web is really the knob that you get to decide how much to turn. I do want you to go home and Google your daughter's name, see how public she is, decide what I'm about to show you. I'm going to show you some really wholesome stuff that you should consider at the age of 16 being public. I'll give you the positive route to go. So Googling, getting off the anonymous apps, that's where some of the weird stuff happens. Nothing good comes of that. And second, how to take group photos. So let me jump into it. Yes?
What does geolocate mean?
Yeah, good question. So if you're going on vacation and you're at the, I used to teach kids this a lot, and nowadays most of them know it. Geolocate means it's a longitude and latitude that can be added to your post on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. So when you check in somewhere, yeah, you can choose to do it usually. And now there's a difference between checking the internet and checking in on the internet. Checking the internet means you're at home on the Wi-Fi, and you're listening or you're emailing. But checking in means you're geolocating your home. So when you're going to go to bed and you send an Instagram picture of your new 65-inch TV, you go, oh, American Idol was a terrible episode tonight, and you're showing that 65-inch TV, you're also, and it doesn't default to this, you're sharing the longitude and latitude of your home, right in the middle of your house. What does that do? That says a month later, now it doesn't do anything that night. Nobody's probably going to come and rob you that night if you're home. But if you go to the Grand Canyon and you tweet, wow, we're having such a great time here today. We drove here. It means you're not going to be home for at least 6 hours, if not 6 days. But they all have to do is scroll back a little bit and see that you took a picture of your 65-inch big screen in your living room and they know where you live. It's enough for an opportunist to go rob you, right? And you probably shared, this is nerdy, but I used to talk about this, you probably shared your dog's name. And you probably not only shared your dog's name, but what size your TV is, you also shared where you're on vacation. So they could say, a robber could come to your house in the middle of the daylight and lightly break into your back door. And the neighbor could go, well, what's going on? Oh, don't worry, Josh is at the Grand Canyon with his family. I'm just feeding Bill the dog. And the neighbor would go, well, that's great! Just hang out, right? Because they know everything about you. Now, once again, I have safety experts on my staff, and it's not here to creep you out, but it's common knowledge, so we probably shouldn't check in at home. You can have that discussion with your kids. One last discussion we're going to have before we move into really good stuff, and then I'll get to you in the red, is you do need to talk about the sexting opportunity. The thing that happens on Instagram, not on Instagram, but on Snapchat sometimes is girls, or even sometimes boys, but it's rare with boys, girls will feel the necessity to impress a young man, and she'll feel the need to send an inappropriate photo. And she'll think it's only going to him, and she'll believe that that is going to impress him, and he'll then like her more. That is a very specific discussion you should all have with your daughters, and make sure that they know that does not happen that way. They're welcome to come to you or talk to a friend, but that does not impress boys. It never ends well. It never goes the direction, unfortunately, they want to have. So everything on Snapchat is indeed public. Their servers do store a lot of this stuff. I can show you how with 99 cents you can ruin another kid's reputation, and sadly that happens. Just like I almost hurt my friend when he sang me happy birthday in a nice video, but if I were to post it, it would show his employer that he was ditching that day. So you do need to have the sexting talk. Everything's public, and anything nude is going to get shared. Okay, so that's just a little talk. Now we're going to talk to you in the red, and we're going to move on. Yes?
I have Googled my son, not incognito mode, which I'm now going to try. But what other ways do colleges use? Seems like that's probably not one thing.
What other techniques do colleges do? Two questions. What techniques do you have control over is a question. And number two, what are the cheapest tools they have? I'll be honest with you, they're probably not, and from what I've heard, Well, I've heard from colleges. They go and they Google the heck out of you. I've heard from specific colleges that I mentioned tonight. They'll Google the heck out of you. Because that's the easiest and cheapest. They're not paying $100 a student to do an old school background check. That is a way of the past. So because it's relevant and so easy for you to test, that's what I'm here tonight, is to give you the tactical tips to start owning your image. Colleges don't have the money or the time to use some advanced old school system or to do super secret stuff. They want to know what employers are someday going to see, and employers are using Google. They also want to know, they want to see so I'm giving you the tools that they're using day in and day out.
So Google is really it.
Google, you can go to Bing.com, you can go to Yahoo, the three main ones. You can also go to Facebook and search for yourself, but you can go to each one of the networks that you're on and search for yourself as well. But it starts with Google, because Google's job, they're the world's best at getting that information onto their network. That's literally their mission. They say, we want to take the world's information and organize it so it's easy to find with one search. Okay? Very good question. Any other questions before we move into the fast pace? Yes?
Will colleges check out the parents online?
Do the parents come, will the parents come up with a kid search?
No, will the colleges also with the parents online?
No, but let me ask you again. Will the parents come up in the kid search? So if you are tired, once again, they don't have time. I don't even know the number at UCLA. Or, how many of us would love for a kid to go to UCLA or USC? Raise your hand. I went to USC and my sister went to UCLA. I love them both. I think they're great. Pepperdine, LMU, they're all great schools. Or East Coast. There are 20,000 kids a year. I'm pulling that number out of nowhere, are applying, and Nestle has a huge number of people that apply all the time. I worked at Disney for several years, and so what they're going to do, they're only going to have the time to search for Joshua Ochs and Josh Ochs, and they're going to find wholesome stuff. They're going to make a quick judgment. You only have a flash to impress them. They are the experts because they do this every day, 25 times. And we actually worked with my staff. I was doing a presentation on social media safety to the head Human Resources Division of ABC and Disney. The head HR person, which was taken from Disney over to Yahoo by Marissa Mayer. He asked me to come in and say, train my team. How can we look at people in a way? So they're using these techniques, I can tell you as a for a fact. But if they're not going to Google you because they don't have time. They're going to Google your kid, and if you're tied in with your kid, you need to then take a step to make sure that your foundation is safe. Okay, let's move into how to create a positive online image. In about 7 minutes, I'm going to let you go home. We can do some more question Q&A. Make sure you filled out your name and email. If you like this, I've got tons of videos. So get that piece of paper ready. At the end, I'm going to give you, we'll give away a gift card. So first, Josh, how can I post positive stuff? How can I flood the internet with good, wholesome content? My kids are ready to start being discovered online. We want to own the first 1 and 2 pages of Google. That means we want 20 results online of my kids. 10 results being the first page, 10 results being the second page. When they click that image button, we want to own most of that. How do we do that? Let me show you an idea that you might consider using for your pictures. First, if you want to work at the world's biggest ad agency, you can consider tweeting like Camille. Here's how she posts on Instagram. Thanks to my friends for inviting me to join them in these great seats. Go Dodgers. Classy picture, no tongue sticking out, no red cups, right? She's basically thanking people. Look at the thanks. Next, if you want to be on KTLA Channel 5 News, and you want to be seen by millions of people, as a tech reporter, here's how you can post on Twitter. Thank you to Shelter Hope Pet Shop for letting us share some of our tech tips with you. Keep up the great work helping these dogs find loving homes. Notice the thanks to this organization for this opportunity. Do you see that theme so far? Next, if you want to work at Disneyland and digital marketing and social media, you can post on Instagram. Consider posting on Instagram like Lisa, the far right, where she says, special thanks to my team at Disneyland Parks for all that they do to make dreams come true at the most magical place on earth. If you've ever dreamed of your daughter being in the Miss America pageant, you perhaps could learn from Kelsey, Miss Utah on the far left, as she posts on Twitter. Thank you to my friends that supported me over the last year in the Miss America pageant. With their help, I can represent Utah and teach kids nationwide about setting their goals. If you have ever, oh, and here's an actual senior that we caught doing great things. And let's look at her. We're going to look at 3 images from her. Elise says, so proud of my BBHS Tigers. Shout out to Chance for being my favorite player and best friend. Hand on the hip, great, classy. Chance might end up being a pro athlete. This kid is talented. He's going to be proud of associating with her because she sends out a classy photo. Next, one day there was a power outage in her city, in the Midwest. And instead of complaining on social media, she posts this. I'm so thankful to have such a great family. I had a great day, even with our power outage. Hashtag 'tis the season. Now, you know what USC and UCLA are going to say about this? They're going to say, you know what? We have a power outage every week on social media. I'm sorry, we have a power outage every week in our dorm rooms. If that's how this young woman complains, we need to get her here for a first-round interview. That's exactly what they'll say. And not only that, she's well-liked for the 14 favorites. So she chose to take a picture of her siblings, perhaps that's a holiday photo, and share it with the dog. Next, here's her in our final interview at KU. I had so much fun on my college visit to KU today. I'm so ready for next year. She was accepted, but even Elise knows that once you're accepted, even at Cisco, you can get asked not to come back. So can you imagine what could happen if she did something inappropriate to that mascot? Everyone's watching. Now this last photo I'm about to share with you is a real photo of a young man named Jonathan. Jonathan had just finished his college applications, and he tweeted a handwritten picture of him. He knew so much that colleges were going to look at him that he sent this picture. He said, "Dear colleges, please accept me. I'm a good person." This photo got picked up in a positive way by a bunch of big media outlets. Got retweeted a ton of times because this kid knew everybody was watching. And all his message said was, "Finish my college apps." Right? Okay. Now here's my formula. This is the secret formula that's in the book. This will work every time. Prove me wrong. First, your kid has to do something good in life. You cannot Band-Aid something up. You can't go over bad behavior. You must do something good. Here's some ideas. Animal shelter, hospital, senior home, Red Cross, Habitat for Humanity, or walk a neighbor's dog with a friend. Then what you're going to do is not take a selfie of you doing that, but rather take a classy group photo and say thank you in the message to this organization for giving me the opportunity to do this activity as an added bonus if you want to. And this is really nerdy. This gets into old school testimonial marketing way before digital media was out. If you talk about the outcome, it's a great testimonial. So take a group photo. Thank you to this organization for the opportunity to volunteer in this capacity. With their help, we were able to find homes for these 27 dogs. Okay, finally, keep it light, bright, and polite, my friends. Offer your camera to take group photos. Search for yourself every month. Share lots of classy group photos each month, and thank the organization. That's going to flood the internet with good content so you can overcome other people's results on Google. Thanks for having me out, guys.